Hello. I think one of the key distinctions between a fight and an argument is that a fight is aimed at trying to win. We see this a lot in particular with sports like wrestling. Generally, when we're talking about someone fighting, the kind of goal is that you're going to have a winner and you're going to have a loser. Arguments are more aimed at trying to get the other person to agree with you. You are trying to convince the other person to agree with you, and the goal is that you will eventually come to a common agreement. Our book kind of talks about how, though with arguments, you really don't necessarily really get a winner. That oftentimes because we react out of pride. Like, even if you do win the argument and you are the one that is right, you're really not going to necessarily win because the other person's feelings are going to be hurt, and it's just not going to feel a whole lot like a win. My 3 of the 9 suggestions on how to keep a disagreement from becoming an argument are distrust your distinctive impression. Distrust your distinctive impression. Number 2, listen first. And number 3, look for areas of agreement. So the first one is kind of aimed at reacting. I tend to be really bad about this because when someone says something wrong, like the book gives this example of an argument basically presenting itself as the author's at an event, and the guy hosting the event quotes something. He says it's from the Bible, and the guy knows it's not, and he knows it's from Shakespeare, and so he kind of essentially starts to argue with him about where this quote is from. And I kind of tend to be the same way. Like, it would be really hard for me to just let that go when I know that something you're saying is not where you're saying it's from, and so I tend to react. Like, it's just kind of an immediate reaction to things. I don't really stop and contemplate where the other person's coming from. I don't take their feelings into consideration. I don't listen. And so number 2 is kind of a big one. Listening before reacting. And sometimes listening means you're not reacting at all. Sometimes you're just kind of sitting there and you might nod your head, but you're letting them say their piece first before trying to jump in and react, which I think is often what we do. And number 3 is looking for areas of agreement, because we tend to, when we're in an argument, we tend to cling so tightly to our perspective and our side that we're coming from. And that sometimes when we can find those little gray areas of agreement, that can make all the difference in the world. And so looking for those little areas of agreement is the third one that I chose.